Do not call Father because you have only one Father, Master or Teacher. Dear friends, we always call in our Catholic world every priest as Father. Do we contradict to what Jesus tells us today? Are we doing anything contrary to the teaching of Jesus? Welcome to 31st Sunday of the Ordinary Season, Year A. Paul, writing his letter to Timothy, calls him a son. And we have the first letter of Peter in the chapter 5 verse 13, where he mentions Mark as his son, and John in his epistles addresses the people as his children. We even today hear bishops addressing the people as their children. We all call the Pope as Holy Father. All these refer to the spiritual realm where priest becomes fatherly to the people entrusted. Bishop becomes fatherly to the people of the diocese. Pope becomes fatherly to the universal church. Let us see the spiritual lineage which we hear in the second letter to the Corinthians chapter 6 verse 8. I will be a father to you, and you will be my sons and daughters, says the Almighty. Father is the creator, and we see it from the book of Genesis to most of the books wherever the Father was mentioned as the creator. We see Jesus as the Word who proceeds from the Father to the world in his incarnation, the first chapter of the Gospel written by St. John. Israelites has the image of God as the creator and the one who punishes when failed to keep the promise. Old Testament at times shows the creator as the protector who drew them out from the slavery in the Egypt. Priest is also called to drive the people away from all evil and inclinations to sin. He is called to save the souls. God provided manna and he even gave water from the rock. Priest is expected, again exhibiting his nature, giving the body of Jesus, meeting the spiritual urge and thirst of the faithful. Through the laws and commandments, God protected them and guided them. Priest is expected to proclaim the word and the law of God, and of course the law of the church, explaining them and making sense to the times. God healed them when they were afflicted, and they were made to look at the bronze serpent. Priest is expected to point Jesus on the cross to strengthen their fallen state and the challenges of life, where Jesus is seen and shown as the Savior of the world, extended with all the wounds on the cross. We read in Jeremiah chapter 31 verse 20, Israel, you are my dearest child, the one I love best. Whenever I mention your name, I think of you with love. My heart goes out to you. I will be merciful. God was willing to the supplication made by Abraham, and he even forgave Moses, who tried to strike the rod twice, though not asked of. He was kind to David, and he made him the predecessor of his son, who could come from the lineage of David. God called many leaders who were weak, yet they continued to serve the Father's will. God fought on the behalf of his people at their oppression. A father, a priest, should also take risk of taking the side of the afflicted and oppressed and fight for justice and equality. God in his love gave his own son to restore the humanity, and it is a great challenge to the priest to be a father, to give up all his best interests for the sake of the people entrusted. This is how the priest becomes fatherly and takes the nature of God in his mission. Jesus at times comes out with some statements that perturbed the existing faith leaders, the Pharisees, and all the teachers of that time. Pharisees represented the law and the Mosaic order and took the prime position in the society, who instead of being fatherly to the society, they were oppressors. They tormented the faith of the people. Popularly prevailing name of God as the Creator was made a shift through the words of Jesus when he calls God the Father. He even taught the apostles, calling God as the Father. He proclaimed and revealed his association and intimacy with the Creator, whom he called the Father. He even extended his statement, saying that whoever has seen me has seen the Father. This, of course, later turned out to be a blasphemy, calling himself as God. He demonstrated his intimacy with the Father and given credit to the miracles to the Father, and always denied the crown, the aftermath of popularity. And he offered his suffering at Gethsemane to the Father, and of course even the cross. And he mirrored the inseparable bond in love. Priests, fathers, or religious authorities are expected to imitate these qualities today, unlike the Pharisees who failed to practice and portray. So we have a few questions to reflect and ponder throughout the week. What kind of fatherhood do I build to the community I live? Am I authoritative, approachable, dominant, indifferent, arrogant, or service-minded? How do I relate to my faithful as a spiritual representation or a church leader with a designation or a title? How are the sacraments administered that cohesive Father's caregiving? Let us all reflect.